And with that, it's 4:01. Welcome to Boroughs and Burbs, everybody. This is episode 81, and we're in Hilton Head today. Hilton Head and the low country of South Carolina. I love saying low country. I love it even better with a Southern accent, but I can't do that. I understand from my guests, it's not just for golf and retirees. My guests today are Les Jones and Charles Sampson, both of Charter One Realty, one of the dominating real estate agencies in the Low Country with 9 or 11 offices. And we're going to focus on Hilton Head, but we're also going to talk about Bluffton, Palmetto Bluff, and some of the other surrounding areas that are exciting now. And you'll see those, I guess, on this map, which I'll pull up later. And so with that, I'd like to say hello to my co-host, Roberto Cabrera, on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Thank you, Roberto, as always, for giving us the New Yorker's perspective. And with that, let me turn it over to Les Jones. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, John. Yes, I'm a native South Carolinian, and been down here all my life, 6 generations. My father was in the real estate business. That's the only job he ever had, as a baggy pants salesman and then a small developer. And I graduated college in '87, came to work for him. Been doing it ever since. And enjoy the Low Country. It's a nice lifestyle.
So you've been doing this 34 years. And now I've got Charles, who's got you beat by what, 3 years? Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my wife and I came, well, actually, I came on Hilton Head in 1958 for the first time. We would drive down from Aiken, South Carolina, right near Augusta, and drive out on the beach, and you'd stay all day long and then drive back home. And then in the 60s, we'd come down and rent a house for the week. And in 72, when we got out of college, we moved here, and we've been here ever since. Got into real estate in 85, so I got less by a couple of years. But I tell you what, he and I both are very, very fortunate to be able to call this little slice of heaven home.
So
and
which
I think
one of
we've
you
been found out this past year since COVID, because there's a lot of folks from your area who have now relocated here.
Is that looked upon favorably or not?
You know, there's good and bad with everything. We want to make sure that Hilton Head stays as pristine as it is, and the people that are coming, thank heavens, they're jumping in and joining that. There's really not much more development that can be done. So the number of houses and villas and condos that we have are pretty much what it's going to be. So it is what it is. And what's happening is our supply and demand, that's actually running the prices up, which is good. I'm sitting at a house on the beach that the people bought the first of 20, and we've got it on the market now for over $1 million more than what they paid for it, and it's under contract.
Wow.
I'd say, Roberto,
it's
been a good thing, because like in my neighborhood, I could probably name 10 to 15 people that came down, their families, and they wanted their children to be in a school that was open. So we've had a lot of that migration from the city down here in Chicago and maybe Boston, places where their kids could go to a school, not just being online. So it's been a good thing.
What happens?
We've gotten younger.
What happens to a family that a couple that is they're empty nesters, their kids have all left, they have a big place, they want to downsize and stay there? Is there a place for them to go so that they can sell their house, or are they stuck so they can't have any place to go so that inventory doesn't come back on the market?
Great question. I think if they've got a mortgage, a lot of people are stuck, because you can't downsize sometimes from a 3 to 6% rate, although you might take $1 million or $500,000 off the table, $2 million. So that group's might be stuck, if you want to use that word. The other group that doesn't have a mortgage can probably make that move.
I'm going to put up
But there's
on the
inventory for, sorry, I just want to say, but there's inventory for them to find.
It's at an all-time low. You know, you
Yeah.
got to just be fast and have your realtor looking for you.
So I've just pulled on the screen a chart, and there's just two important, I guess, facts on this chart. One is that the price of an average selling price has gone from 884 and down to 709 in 2019, and has gone up to 1.3 million in the most recent year. So we've gone from 709 average to 1.3 million in only 3 years. That recognizing that the 709 was a low point between 2005 and 2020. The other interesting fact on this chart that you sent is that the number of houses sold has gone down from a high of 1,578 to 966. And that's what you're talking about, the lack of inventory. Now,
Well, there's an interesting thing about that chart too, is that 2020 was basically 10 months, maybe even 9 months. January and February, we were probably 15% ahead of 2019. And then somebody started talking about COVID. And so for March, April, May, we were picking up the phone, calling and checking in with you and see how you're doing. How's your family doing? We weren't selling any real estate. But then in July, August, when folks got out of quarantine, like Les said, they found out if they came here, their kids could go to school, because our kids did. They could go out to restaurants because our restaurants were open. They could work virtually because their office was closed back in Chicago or New York or wherever. And so they didn't leave. And they came with selling big properties. So that's why, like, all of our oceanfront stuff went away. It got picked up real quick. But they came and they stayed, and let's add on to that.
Well, Roberto and John, y'all are probably selling their apartments in New York City or on the Gulf Coast of Connecticut for 4 or 5 million, and they could come replace that down here with maybe 3 or 4 million and put a little bit of money in their pocket. And
Right.
so it was cheap to them, so to speak, with a better quality. And
are they replacing it with a seasonal house? Because I think I asked you a couple days ago, Les, are they moving in full time, or are they coming down there for just the winter months?
Well, we got a little bit of both of that. We've always been a resort and a second home market and a primary market. So we have about a 39,000 population full time, 39,000-ish. It's hard to calculate because some people will winter, but according to the Chamber of Commerce, only a third of those people live here full time. And our average age is 42 years old. So we've got a young community from that sense.
Wow.
Wait, that
Yeah,
does not
people
make
that will-
sense. Wait a minute. Average age is 42,
Mhm.
and yet 2/3 are only 1/3 is there year round. Does that mean that you have a whole lot of 42-year-olds who don't work and they're just
Hey,
retired?
No, you probably got a lot of kids.
Okay.
You got their parents that are probably in the 40s and 50s. You got kids younger than that. But about, a third is, according to the Chamber of Commerce, are retired. So we're a pretty active, thriving community.
Can you give us a sense of your housing stock in the sense of the number? Like, John, what is our inventory is 6,500-ish, but we're a massive city. John, your inventory is what?
We have 58 houses on the market in a community of 20,000 people and 7,000 houses. There's only 58 on the market.
How's it look down there? Like, what is the population and what does your current inventory look like?
I think we've got maybe 100, 105 homes total for sale on Hilton Head right now, currently. We're broken down into probably 8 or 9 gated communities and then 5 or 6 off plantation or not gated communities. I don't know what our total unit population is. Charles, is it 30,000, 40,000?
And I don't know
Pines
that
has
either.
4,200, for example. Hilton Head Plantation has what, about 4,000?
Yeah, and out of that 4,000, there
20,000.
are 10 on the market,
Yeah,
and they range from, I've got one for 775 and everything else is over $1 million.
yeah.
But
So
only up
Pines
to,
has 4,200 units and we've got 28 for sale.
yeah, yeah.
What-
Yeah, I had
what's up-
27. Yeah.
What is the price of something that's super luxury?
Well, the
5 to
most
10
expensive
million.
thing right now under contract is 9.9 million. That's a surf scooter and sea pines.
Wait, with
That's
that, I want to show a map because I'm starting to get a little lost. So if I look at the map of Hilton Head, there's the island, which you see in white, and the airport for Hilton Head is on the north end of your island. And so
correct.
when we're talking about Hilton Head, we're talking about the island. But now I think we're talking about the low country as well. And Palmetto Bluff, and I'm moving my cursor around on Palmetto Bluff, is one of the is almost as big as the entire island of Hilton Head, and it's been in development more recently. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
And
So-
Bluffton is the town that I would go through on the way to Hilton Head, and it's also rapidly expanding and developing. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah,
Correct.
it's on fire. I
So-
would say Hilton Head is 12 miles long by 5 miles, 5.5 miles at its widest point.
And there's 30,000 people on this island, correct?
About
No, closer to
40,000
40.
full time,
40,000.
Yeah, close to 40.
full time.
And in the summertime, it bumps up to 80, 90, 100. And if you look, it's shaped like a foot. And from the toes all the way to the heel along the sole, that's the ocean, of course. And that's where most of the short-term rental, weekly vacation rentals are. You get back up to the ankle in those communities, and they really don't allow weekly rental. The 6 months is the minimum that you can do there.
What's the address of the $9 million listing? What's the address?
2 surf scooter, 3 surf scooter. Let me look and see. I know it's surf
And Sea
scooter.
Pines, it's on the beach.
Yeah, Sea Pines on the beach.
Mhm.
So when you talk about sea pines, here's another map. I've
Right.
got that refers to the entire toe.
Yes. all
Yeah,
the way
Yeah,
to
that's
the
about
left.
6,000 acres, and that was Charles Fraser did that. You said something about 1957. There were a bunch of families that came over from South Georgia and started timbering the island, and Charles was pretty smart and talked his father into selling him the southern tip of the island, and that's where he made the Sea Pines Resort. And it was one of the first HUD communities with gated and covenants and stuff in the country. There are numerous. Kiowa is one. The Woodlands in Houston, Texas is one. I mean, there's a number of communities that have followed his guidelines.
He came up with the idea when he was in law school up in Yale. And he came up
Yeah.
with this, man, can I come up with some restrictive covenants? And so
So
that's what he did.
So when Meredith asks, where's the $9 million stuff? When
3
Meredith wants
surf
to hang
scooters.
out with the $9 million crowd, is that only Sea Pines, or can that be in several of the do you have several great communities on the island?
Well, there in Palmetto Dunes, 9 Galleon is 7.1 million.
Wait, let
In
me go
Port
through this
Royal,
again.
38 Ennis is 6.2 million. Now, and that's unique because Port Royal, you can't rent short term.
Wait. So you just said Port Royal, which is the heel, has
Is the
a
heel.
$7 million listing.
Yeah. One of our agents in our office just had a listing that was 5.5 that was next door to this house, and he sold it. This house is still sitting there.
And how much waterfront, how much acreage do I get for 5 to 9 million in Port Royal?
About a quarter,
100
a
and-
quarter to a third.
Quarter to a
Yeah,
third.
110, 120 feet
Yeah.
of frontage.
Okay. Is that
There was an article in the mansion that we were now the new Hamptons. And I've never been there, but I assume there your property is multiple acres if you're on the ocean. Here, it's like Les said, it's a third to half an acre.
And how big, what sort of square footage of house do you get for that?
Well, the 9 was 5,500. The
Mhm.
galleon was 4,000. The Ennis is 5,000. And at Hilton Head Plantation, where I live, which is non-rental, it's not on the ocean, there's one that's 8,500. And it's $5 million.
And when you say not on the ocean, but it's on the water, it's just not on the ocean.
It's about where the D at Hilton Head Plantation is, but and it's on the Sound. It's on the golf course, it's on a lagoon, it's on the Sound, it's on 2 lots, has a swimming pool, it's 8,500 square feet.
So let me back up a minute. Charles Foster goes down there in 1957 and he develops, you said 6,500 acres.
Correct.
And he divides it into, I don't know, 1,000 pieces or a couple thousand pieces. And he sells them one at a time, or does he build the houses in the style? Is he a builder or is he just selling off the lots?
He's selling off the lots. He, 3 things happened in 56 that triggered him wanting to develop Hilton Head. One, they did a bridge. Hilton Head didn't have a bridge until then. But residential air conditioning became popular. So he thought, oh, so now we can make this a more residential place where second home people can come south now instead of wintering up north or summering up north. Environmental pest control was another thing that was invented or came out that year. So when we could walk outside, pull your sleeve up, take a stopwatch and just count all the mosquitoes that would come on your arm. And so he was able to spray for mosquitoes environmentally without killing the fauna and the birds and the things like that. And then the third thing that happened is Peachtree invented the skylight. So he wanted an architecture style where you couldn't cut trees down, but he was an environmentalist, where you build the houses inside the forest. And so this skylight was key to his ideas because it would bring the light in around the trees. And so he builds the house around trees. You'll see trees coming out of people's decks and things like that. They've loosened up a little bit with that rule, but in the early days, you couldn't cut a tree down unless your absolute house was on that footprint. So he's preserved all this. And that was part of his covenants. You had building, setbacks inside. You had to be so many feet from your property line. You couldn't have, part of the restrictions were no boat trailers or Winnebagos or lettering on your car, and so you couldn't have any of that stuff in your yard. And over time, that's what's preserved and made Hilton Head so unique, unlike any other place. Those
When
things
I
that
was
people brought
going to
up.
Hilton Head back in the 70s when I was young, we would rent in Sea Pines. And I had the worst sunburn of my life because we were building sandcastles and so on. And my back and my legs got so sunburned. And going back to the bug bites, we would take the grass coming off the trees, the moss, and make hula skirts. And that was the end of it. I had mosquito bites everywhere.
I know.
You didn't have mosquito bites. You had chiggers, and
Yes,
chiggers
that's it.
get under
That's it.
your skin.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
They would
Henry
spray on
Ford
Tuesdays
used
and
that for
Fridays.
seat covers.
That was interesting back then. They still do. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And I was also there for many years for the women's tennis event, working on that.
Yeah, Harbor Town, that was special.
Family circle.
Family circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harbor
Yeah,
Town
one
actually
thing when
was
Charles started, you could buy an oceanfront lot for like $5,000 and he would give you a lot on the backside on the Intercoastal Waterway, Calabogie. So that's how far we've gone. Les, what was the last oceanfront lot to sell? 4 or 5 million?
5, 6, 7 million. It's kind of supply and demand.
Yeah, I mean, I had a house that was oceanfront, Sea Pines listed, and the guy bought it, never looked at it, and he tore it down and he paid like 3.7 for it, which if we're back to the Hamptons, those numbers are probably not anywhere near what people are used to.
That's what I was going to ask. There are places where you can't find the inventory, so someone will buy something, just completely tear it down and rebuild.
Yeah, they've been doing
Arthur
that for
Blank
about
is an
20 years.
example for that. He wanted to buy a particular piece of property to build a house on, and he sent an agent. The guy said, no, don't want to sell. The agent went back. Blank said, yeah, go to give him this. finally the offer became too good to pass up. He tore the house down and built a house there on, what is it, 15 less on Sea Pines and the ocean.
West Beach.
Yeah,
In fact, he just bought the next house next to it last week.
yeah. And you know, Arthur Blank is Home Depot.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, so 1957, we have the first gated community, and then the rest of the island gets developed. By this point, it's completely developed. There's very few undeveloped land. I get that. But I've got this map that shows a great deal of land around Palmetto Bluff and Bluffton. How is it developing, and why is it not, well, at what price point versus Hilton Head is it being developed, and how are they controlling? Because it looks like a tremendous amount of land. I mean, and it looks like that would depreciate the prices. Is that in fact the case?
Palmetto Bluff,
No, it's apples and oranges, different buyer.
yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
about that. What kind of buyer buys in Palmetto Bluff?
Somebody who knows somebody who's already bought there. That's how they did it. They were pretty smart. When they first started, they went out to the Emmys, Oscars, something, and in the gift bag was a visit to Palmetto Bluff. They brought in a real highline spa company. Now they've left, but the Montage is there. So it's got a very highline hotel.
On the
There
front page of
are-
the paper yesterday. One of the top resorts in the country. It was on the
Yeah.
front page yesterday, the hotel.
Can I
Yeah.
assume that any of those places that don't have roads are not able to be developed? They're protected?
Yes, for the most.
So
Well,
all
they're,
the
they're still
green-
developing. I mean, in Palmetto Bluff, they've got villages like Moreland, and your houses are pretty close together. But then you get out of the village and you've got acres of land. I mean, that you could have somebody who has a 10-acre tract there. So it's like Les said, it is a different animal than Hilton Head. You're not on the ocean. You're on there where it says Brighton Beach. That could be called the Redneck Riviera because there's a sandbar there. And on weekends, if it's low tide, you go take out your boat and pull up there. Well, that's right across from Palmetto Bluff. So those people come over to that area too. So it really is a different thing. It's the houses are way more expensive for the size. The quality is there, the detail and the trim and the moldings and stuff. But it is a different animal than Hilton Head. And we've got other things over that way too. We've got Colleton River and Berkeley Hall and Belfair, which are very exclusive golf communities. That when the guy, John Reed, said he was going to go do a development off island and charge $300,000 for lots, we said, you were crazy. Well, he did Colleton River, and that was successful. Then he did Belfair. Then he did Berkeley Hall. Then he did Hampton Hall. Then he did Hampton Lake. And all of them were successful until 2006, and then it started slowing down.
You guys mentioned Kiowa Island earlier. Where is that geographically in relation to Hilton Head? And is that like, do people come down there and say, look, I want to buy in Hilton Head, but there's nothing, so I got to go to Kiowa, or vice versa?
Kiowa is 90 miles to the north, right outside of Charleston.
Right.
So it's
Okay.
just above Beaufort. We're on the South Carolina border.
A little
here,
bit,
right
a little
next-
bit more.
Yeah.
This is it.
That's Edisto. Yeah, Kiowa's there.
So
Beautiful golf,
and
lots of
right
great
away,
golf in
that's
Kiowa.
What is the difference in how it feels? Like, it's like the difference between East Hampton and Sag Harbor, or I mean, I'm
It
just like
feels-
throwing
yeah.
something out there.
it's going to be similar. It feels just like Sea Pines because Charles Fraser developed Kiowa also,
Right.
the Saudis.
Did it for the
Saudis
Kuwaitis.
bought it and they hired him to develop it. If you even go to Kiowa, it's got the same road names, but it's got a very
And
similar
how is
feel.
How does pricing compare?
It could be the same price or even higher.
Yeah, it's
Roads are
higher
lots a
because
little
it's
bit bigger.
newer. You know, in Hilton Head, you've got things that were done in the 70s and the 80s. And that's when Kiowa started, and Hilton Head was already moving along. Kiowa is not anywhere near as big as Hilton Head. Hilton Head is the largest barrier island south of Long Island on the East Coast. The other big thing about Kiowa and us, it is more expensive. It does have a Ritz-Carlton there. That's where the World Cup was played. That's where Fuzzy Zeller won the tournament that everybody ran the course, whatever. But
Ryder Cup.
the Ryder Cup. Okay, yeah. And but it is, to get to anything, you're 30 miles or so. I mean, on Hilton Head, we've got schools, we've got hospitals, we got shopping, we got restaurants. I mean, we're a town. It is pretty convenient here. You get to the island, you don't have to leave. But Kiowa, great community, won't knock it, but it is a little remote.
How
Can
many
we talk-
restaurants? Let's talk about that. How many amenities? Because I thought, is there enough to do to live there year round? You said people went down there because of COVID, because the schools are open. But I would imagine when COVID's all done, it reevaluated and said, well, I could sell my place for a lot of money, and maybe it doesn't have all the amenities, all the restaurants, all the things to do I want. Does anybody saying that, or?
No, we have 200 restaurants.
Yeah.
We have malls, we have shopping, we have outlets, we have 4 theaters. We've got 9 marinas, 300 tennis courts, 25 golf courses. And
We have a symphony that our conductor is also the conductor of the Cincinnati Pops and the whatever Buffalo has, the Philharmonic or whatever, and he's our conductor. We've got an art center that really the plays are off Broadway quality. I mean, it really is. This whole week is Wine and Food Fest. A couple weeks ago, it was a week of Seafood Fest. In the end of October, 1st of November, we've got the Concours d'Elegance. In 2 or 3 weeks, we've got the RBC Heritage. In fact, if any of your viewers have never been to Hilton Head and never seen it, on April the 15th and 16th, turn into CBS on the afternoon and watch, because they'll have some pretty good shots of the island.
The week
Golf
after the
Channel will have it
Masters,
Tuesday,
yeah.
Thursday,
Yes.
Friday, and Saturday. Also,
Week after the
great time.
Masters.
It's a great time because all the players are kind of decompressing from the.
Yes.
Well, but let me tell you,
Masters.
this year, we because we're the week after the Masters, a lot of the big guys did not come because you're right, they wanted to go decompress. But the ones who did come love it here because they can bring their family, and it's a little bit lower key. You can vacation, you can get an oceanfront house or a villa. But this year, we're one of the 4 designated PGA tournaments.
Everybody will be here, 49 of the top 50. And it was also, Charles, let me jump in. It's one of the 42 events on the PGA Tour last year, and it's always been a favorite. It used to be the week before the Masters, so you had a big crowd that would come and tune up.
Yeah.
You're looking at the brand new clubhouse. It's probably the only brand new clubhouse on the tour right there. It's a gorgeous clubhouse. I had lunch there Monday, but the Heritage Golf Links was voted as the PGA Tour players' favorite tournament last year to attend. Not their favorite.
Remember the days, guys, when the women's tennis backed up into that golf tournament? That was
It was
crazy.
one week after the other.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
what they-
insane.
yeah. Mhm.
The one thing about Les was just talking about that clubhouse. It was the smallest clubhouse on the tour,
Yeah.
and the pros were saying something about it. So one year, about 3 or 4 years ago, the day that the tournament was over, the clubhouse got torn down, and it was rebuilt before the next tournament. And they did the same thing with they killed all the grass one year and resodded the whole course, and it was open back for the next tournament. But this year, we're going to have more players because, like I said, it's one of the 4 designated tournaments, and the money is $20 million. That's almost double what it was last year.
Wow, in one
It's the
year.
smallest market. It's the
1 year.
smallest market on tour.
Yeah.
Can we talk about hurricanes? because you guys are, we have to, you guys are, my father used to have a house in the Dominican Republic. He lives in Miami, and every, hurricane season and something's coming, he gets a lump in his throat. And, I know you guys have like 100-year-old oak trees, and, you have to have had some really close calls. And how do you guys, are you protected at all? Are you?
We've got a
Talk
rabbit
to me
foot,
about it.
Roberto. Yeah.
You're-
So if you look
Are
at
you
a
just
map,
that tough?
we've got the longitude of probably Pittsburgh or somewhere. We're tucked in.
Yeah, we are.
And so until 5 years ago, we could say we hadn't had a hurricane since 1890. We had a big one
Right.
that took a lot of people in 1890. But we had two back to back, and they were level ones, and we didn't have any storm surge. We had a lot of trees go down. We didn't have any flooding really to speak of. We had a little bit on the back creek of a couple neighborhoods, but we've been lucky. We have just
Any erosion or anything like that?
not really. It sometimes it comes natural with the storms passing up the coast though. We had hurricane, which one hit in 89 in Charleston?
Hugo.
That was a big one, and that hit Charleston.
Yeah.
North of Charleston actually. But sometimes you get natural erosion, but we've got a natural beach. The
Yeah.
beach in Miami is man-made. I don't know if anybody knows that. Our beach is all natural, and it's 300 feet wide. And I'd say it's the nicest beach on the East Coast as far as being able to have activities on it. It's a hard sand
I
beach.
heard
You can run,
with the
you can
high
play sports, you can do all that.
I heard with the high tide and the low tide, the sand is it just has a quality, it packs down. You could literally ride your bike for
Well, that's what you ride
miles.
your bike.
So
10
people
miles.
just rode their bike by right now. They just rode by on the beach.
Yeah, that's what's so
That's-
great about our beach, and it's 300 feet wide at low tide. We don't have the pretty water that you get in South Florida, but our beach is gorgeous.
Okay.
And usable.
I heard-
It's a usable
I heard
beach.
the marshes change color, and that's actually how you determine your seasons and all. The things I've read are incredible.
All right. So
Oysters,
what am I
turtles,
missing?
dolphins.
It's environmentally beautiful, John. You've got to get that.
There's got to be a catch, because one thing I learned was Roberto can sell his place in the Hamptons, and he can live like a king in Hilton Head for less than $2 million. Although you've got awesome, awesome golf courses. You've also got symphonies, restaurants, 4 movie theaters, and a mall for Roberto. The one downside, and you don't even have hurricanes. And when you do, you guys are so tough, you just kind of, dismiss them and move on. So the only bad thing I heard was the chiggers.
Yeah.
Well, don't
that
mess with the Spanish moss. It is a great place to live, and I've got a theory that you live here because there's so much outdoor activity you can do. We're not as stressful as I'm sure people in the city are. So you just kick back a little bit. It's going to happen. It might not happen today, but it'll happen, and you're going to live long. Your quality of life, the island lifestyle. Les and I are both 90, and do we look like it? No.
One of the biggest changes is you just expanded your airport.
We did.
So I think this is going to be a major change for you. You can now get from Westchester County Airport round trip to Hilton Head for $225, direct flights. Even though my friend Steve Habits tried to do it today and he couldn't get out because of the fog, that's a Westchester problem, not a Hilton Head problem. So how is that going to change it? You just told me that even though Hilton Head is fully developed, there's plenty more land over at Palmetto Bluffs, Bluffton, and in the surrounding low country. And they're building nice product in the low country. And it's more affordable than Hilton Head. So how's that going to change the nature of the low country? It occurs to me that maybe you don't have enough infrastructure to allow 1 million New Yorkers to all fly direct down to your part of the world.
Les, what do you think the occupancy rate is in these homes and villas? Like this house that I'm in, it got like $180,000 for the past 2 years, but the owners used it a pretty good bit. It should get $250,000 rental, but that's still not every week. As I was driving down here, the car in front of me was New York tags. So you get a lot of people that come in here and they snowbirds. So yeah, I mean, we can take some more.
Well,
You
the
can take some more.
typical rental season would be 25 to 35 weeks for your short-term properties, generally speaking. But the snowbird market has been a very large emerging market in the last 20 years. As our baby boomers age, we get a lot of the Northeast people, we get a lot of Canadians, and they may or may not want to buy here either because of the exchange rate or just they don't want to buy. But they come down and rent houses for 1, 2, 3 months, villas, second homes. People that haven't been here, the first thing I talk about then I go is our climate. So we're 25 miles north of Savannah, Georgia. We're 95 miles south of Charleston. If you look at a map of these coasts, it's an absolute perfect location. Our average temperature year round, 12 months out of the year, according to the chamber, is 75 degrees. 75 degrees. We're kind of like the San Diego of these coasts. The coldest month would be January, which is 60 degrees. And the warmest month would be July and August, which would be 90 degrees. Now it does get humid, but we don't get the heat that you get down south, and we don't get some of the cold and the storms you get in upper part of the state, North Carolina, Virginia. So it's a very mild subtropical climate. You can walk the beach 12 months out of the year, golf, tennis, boats, horseback ride.
You glossed over that humid part. Can we just go back to that? Because
it's good for your
my
complexion.
understanding, it can be really humid, right?
Yeah, it can be humid in July and August. Yeah, hot and sticky to some people. Yeah, it can be.
Now, can we be a little honest about the New Yorkers coming down there? There has to be a little bit of like, these New Yorkers are here, you know, and it's kind of bothersome. I mean, I know that my personal bubble of space is very small. I can get right up beside somebody and I could care less. But if
Do
you're
you
down there,
still call the New Yorkers carpetbaggers, for example?
No.
No, we're not doing that anymore.
New York, New Jersey, we group them together according to our chamber. They're our number 3 visitor. So Georgia's 1, North Carolina's 2, which is interesting because those are both beach states. So those 2 groups think we got better beaches. They come here. And then New York, New Jersey is considered 3rd. I think Ohio or Pennsylvania is 4 and 5. Those are amazing.
We're starting to get a lot of business from California. I have sold more folks from California in the past 18 months than in all my other years added together.
I'd say that's the new era, the new COVID era.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
Why?
somebody used the other word the other day, sanctuary, that Hilton Head kind of offers a sanctuary to the folks who, you know, there's problems other places, their taxes. Like Les said earlier, we had schools where other places didn't. Our restaurants were open because they could eat outside. I mean, COVID really changed a lot of things. And some people who had never heard of Hilton Head found out about it. And I don't think we'll go back. We've been rated the #1 continental U.S. island by Leisure and Travel and Leisure magazine for the past 6 years, and the #1 island by Condé Nast. So I mean, the readers of those magazines, they found out something.
I want to get at what Roberto wants to get at, which is it changing? I mean, when Joe Rogan talks about leaving California for Texas, and then he said the unfortunate thing was all the other Californians left with him and went to Texas and kind of ruined it. And I think Roberto and I both want to know what's the effect on Hilton Head of having all these damn Yankees showing up?
You know, they accumulate and get used to when you walk down the street and you wave to them and say hello, and they, who are you? And then after 3 or 4 people do it, they go, oh, I guess that's why you do it here. You be friendly. It's nicer to smile than not smile. And so, I mean, it's okay. Les can sweet talk them into becoming a Southerner.
It's all good. You know what?
The
People, they get
situation
here and they're
here-
just happy to be here. They feel like Hilton Head's a safe environment. It's almost like a cocoon. My broker says people just feel safe here. You know, they're coming from other areas that maybe aren't quite as safe right now because of other reasons. And they just feel safe when they get here. And I agree with that 100% too.
Yeah.
It's a nice environment. They're nice. A lot of them are educated. A lot of them are retired. A lot of them are young. A lot of them are still working out of the home. And it's a good group here.
And it's a place
It's an
where you can
affluent group.
come
It's an affluent
and,
group. It's
and
like the Hamptons. It's like where Roberto is. It's just maybe we're not as big or as heavy as the Hamptons, but we're probably the next thing down. You know, it's nice, good people.
but most of the people that are coming here want to start a different life. They want to not do what they did before. They want to make friends. They want to get involved. You could almost look at this island and say it's a volunteer island. We've got a free clinic that started about 37 years ago, and it has now been the pattern of about 90 clinics around the country. NBC's been here twice and done a 5-minute segment on it because it's such an amazing thing. They're like 27,000 office visits, save the hospital $10 million a year. And it's amazing. And the neat thing about it is it has about 650 volunteers, retired doctors, nurses, lay people, interpreters. And that's just one thing that's here. There's way more things that people get involved in.
92 beds. It's a full big hospital, all services, good cardiac department.
Yeah, let's talk about that because a lot of people are talking about when they're moving retirees being close to a good hospital, and it's weighing on their decision to move to Florida, where in Florida, whether to go to Florida at all. You talked about Kiowa Island being just as elegant, but quite a bit more remote. I think the same is probably true at Johns Island, Figure 8 Island. You're very close to Charleston. Is it Hilton Head, and you've got the support of Charleston, a major city right nearby? Is that why you have more facilities, amenities, and particularly healthcare?
Well, I would say
We've got two. You've got the MUSC, which is in Charleston, the Medical University of South Carolina, which is great. You've got an amazing hospital in Savannah, Memorial, and you've got a Mayo Clinic 2.5 hours away from us in Jacksonville. And plus our hospital here.
if you need a specialized care, you can get to it pretty quickly, 1 to 3 hours.
So over your shoulder, Les, I see what looks like a big white house on the water with a balcony. Is that a single family residence?
It is. It's one of my neighbor's houses. I'm in a neighborhood called Wexford, so it's right outside of the Sea Pines map, if you went to the Sea Pines map. And so one of the attractions here, it's about a 460 acre neighborhood with a marina, and it has a controlled lock system. There's only 3 of them on the eastern seaboard. 2 of them are here. And we've got golf and tennis, and you can keep up to a 75, 80 foot boat in the harbor if you want to.
So if I wanted to buy your friend's house right there, about what range am I looking at? It looks like a 5,000 square foot house, maybe?
He's
Single
about,
family?
yeah, my house is not next door, but I live down the street. Mine isn't that big, but that's about a 6,000 square foot house.
And about how old is that house in the last 20
Probably
years?
about 25 years.
Uh-huh.
That guy was a chemist. He invented White Star for Elizabeth Taylor, and it's probably about a $5-6 million house, I would say.
And does he get his own dock, or does he use the marina with
He has
everybody
a
else?
dock. Yeah, there's a dock back there. He just doesn't have a boat.
And how much property is that on, more or less?
So you're going to have about 110 feet on the water, and it's going to be about 160 feet deep, which comes out to be about 1/3 of an acre.
And about what are the taxes on a $5 or $6 million waterfront house like that?
Probably 15 to 20 million. I mean, 15 to 20,000.
Okay.
If you
and
live
Our taxes
here,
are low. Our taxes are the lowest.
yeah. If it's your permanent home and this is your residence, it's about 0.5% of the value of the property. So $1 million house, you're paying about $5,000 to $6,000. If it's a second home or anything other than your permanent residence, it's about 1 1/3%, but it's still pretty low.
And how about the transfer taxes? Have they figured out in South Carolina what Roberto's politicians have figured out, and my governor has figured out, that we have a millionaire's tax and we have a mansion tax? Do you have one of those down there?
No, we
You
do.
were
if
the
you
town of
purchase-
Hilton Head to build parks. We became a town in 83, I think, or yeah, 83. So we're 40 years old. Yeah. So we have 1/4% transfer fee, and that builds bike trails. And we are one of the only gold level bike friendly communities. Biking may overtake golf one day. So there's 1/4%. Some of the communities, gated communities, have between 1/4 and 1%. And then some of the other, like the Colleton River, Belfair, Berkeley, Wexford, Long Cove, they're going to have somewhere between $30,000 and $90,000 transfer fee for the community.
And that's a tax being paid by the buyer or by the seller on selling?
Buyer pays it all except 1 or 2 communities, then the seller pays it. But it's mostly the buyer.
It all goes to the town, and the town buys dilapidated property, and they create parks and recreation, and it keeps control of development and things like that too.
So what's the governing body? It's a city council, or how's it set up?
Town council with a mayor and a manager. Manager really
Which
runs
covers
it.
the whole island, encompasses the whole island?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
They're
we're part of a
incorporated.
county, and then a district in the state. So
Yep.
the town of Hilton Head is one mayor, town council. The Bluffton is another mayor, town council, and then Beaufort County.
So what are the
Beaufort
big
County,
things
we have-
on the agenda, like the budget and what needs to be done there? Like what are the projects that have to be done and the people that are consuming people's mind share there who are running the town?
For example, in Connecticut, we have 20,000 people in New Canaan, 25,000 people in Westport. 70% of our entire budget is on our school system. Is that comparable in Hilton Head? Are you elevating the quality of your school system, or are you spending more money on your beaches and parks?
Well, the school system is the county-wide, and our schools are very good. They really are. On Hilton Head, my children, I have 3 daughters, and they all went to the public schools here. But there was a Christian academy that's actually moved off the island, but it's still called Hilton Head Christian Academy. There's a college prep, Sea Pines Academy, or maybe it's called something else now, Les. And then there are a couple things that if your child is going to be the next Tiger Woods or the next whatever, there's the Heritage Academy and some of the other ones here that they tailor-made the classes. If the child is going to be a golfer and they have to go practice golf from 9 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, their classes are from 3 to 7 at night. So there's a lot of education here. But going back, what are the taxes for? Of course, safety, providing the public services like the bike trails and the community parks and stuff like that, making sure the stoplights work, making sure the roads are paved, and stuff like that. It is somewhat of a limited service government that we have.
Our taxes remain low too, because when people come and check into the hotels and the rental properties, they pay accommodation taxes that go to the town, and that helps too. Keeps the quality up. Yeah, like Charles was saying, our roads, our bike paths, everything's just immaculate. It's in great shape.
So how often do you guys go off the island?
Oh, quite often we go to Bluffton. I'll go to Savannah. I'll fly out of Savannah sometimes.
You didn't say
Yeah.
Charleston.
Charleston's
Yeah,
2
Charleston's
hours.
Charleston's good to go to. It's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, that's good.
Savannah's an hour drive, 45 minutes.
How far?
When we go to vacation, we're like everybody else. You might go to Europe or you might do something else. And one thing that really bumped 2020, 2021 and the first part of 2022 was COVID. Nobody did go to Europe. So people came to Hilton Head on vacation, and they went oh, this is pretty nice. And that's another reason they bought. The other thing that we've done real good with is maybe you're a few years away from coming here and you find something you really like. You can buy it. We'll put it in long-term rental. Somebody else pays for it until you're ready to move into it, and then you move into it. And as long as you live there for 2 or 3 years, you can get the $500,000 tax-free, increase in value if you sell it.
I don't mean to make fun of what Les just said, but when we said, do you ever leave the island? He goes, yeah, sometimes I go to Bluffton. This is coming from a guy who never leaves the town of New Canaan, but I just find that a little bit funny. It sounds like you have everything you need on the island. And if you're going to go somewhere, it might be to Bluffton, but that's about it.
You can do fun overnights. 2 weeks ago, I went to see Journey and Toto in Savannah and overnight it. You make a date night out of it. It's fun. They had the St. Patrick's Day parade Friday. It's the second largest parade in the country, below New York. And Charleston's just 2 hours away, some of the best culinary anywhere. And so you can do, trips like that. They're easy to do.
You have made it seem like one big party after another on the island, that people in that community are rather tight knit. They feel safe, tight knit. They have everything they want. They have everything they want, so much so that they never leave the island. I mean, it sounds pretty great. And it sounds like there's music festivals, food festivals, not just the golf that we hear about up here, the famous golf courses, but if you're not a golfer, there's plenty other things to do.
There's plenty of other things to do. And probably my favorite stat for you is 80% of our visitors come to go to the beach. We got great golf, great tennis reputations, but people come to go to the beach. 80%, according to our chamber.
And what kind of a beach? Is it going to be a crowded beach, or is it going to be?
Oh, no.
Not so bad.
No.
One of our agents was with somebody from, and I think they were from New Jersey or New York, and it was probably 4th of July week. It was James,
Yeah.
and they walked up on the beach, and the person goes, "Oh my God, look at the people," and so the agent started stuttering, going, "Well, you know, it is 4th of July," and she said, "Wait a minute."
Like 10 people out there.
In New Jersey, if I didn't get there by 9 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't have a place to put my towel. This is 4th of July, and I can see sand, and I can go sit on the beach. So no, it's there's plenty of beach here. There's 12 miles.
I go to Garden City, Surfside, Myrtle Beach area in the early July timeframe, and I got to tell you, she's right. Even in the Myrtle Beach area,
Right.
You've got to reserve your spot on the beach in the morning. So I'm a little surprised to hear that Hilton Head, they're not encountering that kind of density.
The other thing that's good here is we've got a deck boat, and we love to take clients, go to a place called Hudson's, which is a great seafood restaurant, pick up seafood, go about a half an hour before sunset, go back in a cove, watch the sun go down, eat the food, and then come back under the bridges when it's pitch dark. I mean, it is spectacular.
That's great.
Talk to me about this chart. Where is it going? I need some predictions in the last few minutes of the hour. I'm seeing that the price has gone from 709 to 1,000,003. So the price has gone up substantially, and yet 40% of the people there are year-round, 60% are seasonal with second homes. So presumably these retirees with their second homes are not heavily mortgaged, heavily leveraged, have to sell on a downturn. This is a nice to have, not need to have, and they're not pressed. So I don't see, is there any risk that we're going to see a recession, that we're going to start to see deals?
No, if you look at that 08, and that's when everything was falling apart, there were so many, loans that were bad. There were so many people that were financing. If you look now, and I could send you a chart, and it's a National Association chart. They're not those loans that are out there. We've got people that are coming here and paying cash more than we did back in 05. I don't see that we're going to have that big a downfall. I see we'll have a small adjustment in price. And because of the limited inventory, it's not going to go real far down. It's actually going to be a good time for people to buy.
I think we've got demand.
Yeah.
And I think the last
Yeah,
5 years, 50% of the buyers approximately paid cash, no financing. So the other group, probably has a 3 or 4% loan. So I think everything's pretty safe down here.
So let me get more specific. You're saying that we've seen it go from 2021 to 2022 from 1.1 million average to 1.3 million average. And you're saying we may see a bit of softening, single digits. We may see it come back down to that 1.1 million, 1.2 million level average, but you don't see anything less than that. And it may not go down at all.
Well, like the neighborhood I'm in. I mean, there's 10 properties and only one of them is 775. All the rest of them are over $1 million. That neighborhood should be like a $600,000 to $700,000 neighborhood, unless you're on the water.
But we're in a
So-
recession. And buying power has gone down. So you're not seeing any softening yet. No signs of the softening.
If a good house comes to the market, we just put 2 of them on the same street, right down the street from where Dennis's house were. Both of them were $1.1 million, and both of them had multiple offers, and they were sold, under contract in less than a week. Now, what we are seeing is the buyer has a little more leverage. We're not seeing as many sight unseens, no inspection, whatever. We're seeing people come in. It's balanced out to become a more normal market, which is good for everybody.
it's kind of reflective of New York. It's the same thing. The inventory is tight. Interest rates are obviously huge, tremendously high. So the affordability has gone down, but the demand is outweighing that because there's just not outrageous amounts of inventory. So it almost puts a floor on how depressed any sort of pricing can happen. And in a place like you are, in a place just like your neighborhood, you guys have nothing to sell.
Right.
And there's definitely enough.
But so that's why it's so interesting to me. New York is a much more diverse market. Okay. So you've got a lot of, young families, retirees, everything in New York. But what I'm hearing in the Hilton Head, I mean, we've got a lot of baby boomers, 80 million of them, and we've got 80 million of the millennials, and we've got not that many of the people like me in the middle, the 50-year-olds. We're about a dip. So if all those retirees sell their houses, who are they going to sell them to? There's not that many more retirees coming into the market. There's a lot of millennials coming in. That's why it's interesting to me that both of you are saying that families, young families who are wanting to educate their children are moving to Hilton Head during COVID and staying.
Well, it's the lifestyle. I mean, you can raise a child here and feel very comfortable. You can go like tonight. I go to a 12-year-old granddaughter's softball game, and it's just right around 5 minutes from the house. I mean, the convenience. If I fly out of Hilton Head, I can leave my house in 20 minutes before I have to get on the plane. I mean, it is a laid back, safe, low tax, great weather, a lot of stuff to do. You got to love where you live. And I think you probably experienced that we both do, like living here.
Well, quality too. Your quality goes back to your covenants and restrictions. It maintains a higher level of quality here, and people really enjoy that.
It really
I think it's a
sounds
great way to end the hour. I think that's tremendous. And I have to tell you, I'm usually skeptical. Every week we visit a different luxury market, and they're all saying Palm Beach, the Hamptons, they're all saying things are fine and our market is not going to collapse, and we're going to continue to, it's going to continue to get better. I believe you when you say that Hilton Head is making the transition from a seasonal community, and we're offering both the seasonal market and the year-round market successfully. And so I believe you're right. You're not dependent on just one cohort, and that and now with an expanded airport and accessibility and some of the key amenities, schools and hospitals, seems like you guys are poised to do well for the next 10 years as well, next 10, 20 years as well. So I'm convinced.
We got a
Reserve
lot
me a
of good
spot.
free press last year. We got a lot of good free press. You know, the Today Show broadcasted, Al Roker and Dylan and Savannah, they all did a show in Sea Pines on an oceanfront house last July. And so you've got people waking up in Idaho and California and Oregon that have never been here go, that looks pretty nice. You got Al Roker doing the weather in his sweatpants on the beach. It's like, this is a pretty good lifestyle.
Hilton Head is sponsoring the Miami Open tennis tournament. So the logo is on the back of the tennis courts for everybody to see.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, Wine Fest this weekend. It's the second largest wine fest on the East Coast. I mean, we've just got a lot of good things.
All right, I'm coming. You see,
Come
All right,
on.
well,
I'm wearing
what-
wool.
what- I got a
I'm wearing
byline
wool.
that says,
Meredith is still in a sweater. And Roberto, he's in New York, so he's got the heat turned all the way up. But the rest of us up here, it's just like barely spring, and you guys really are looking like you're enjoying being outside.
It's a great time to go to Hilton Head right now through April. We used to go at Easter. It's beautiful.
Y'all come
Yeah.
visit us at 78 degrees.
yeah, we
Oak
like to
trees
say,
and
come
palm
for a
trees.
visit and stay for a
Pretty
lifetime.
good.
Yes, come and stay.
Yeah, come for a visit, stay for a lifetime.
Oak
And
trees,
don't
palm
forget to
trees.
check us out, April the 19th, the 16th, 15th, 14th, and 13th on NBC or CBS and Golf Channel, because you'll see some good shots of the island.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. This
Thank
was
you
a
so much.
illuminating
having me.
hour. I learned a lot. Roberto?
I did too. I got to tell you, it really sounds like a small little paradise. It's really amazing.
Thank you,
you, guys.
Roberto. Thank you, Les. Thank you,
you.
Charles. Thank you, Meredith. And we'll see you all next week on Boroughs and Burbs, 4 o'clock
Thank you.
Thursday. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.